When my mission in the novel ended, Vincent Chisholm, the secondary male lead, confessed his love to me, unable to bear the thought of him returning to his previous struggling life. I chose to stay in this novel world to be with him. We fell in love like any ordinary couple and entered into marriage with everyone's blessings. On our wedding day, a girl burst into the venue. "Vincent will betray you in the future. Don't marry him," she cried. "Who are you?" Vincent's tone was firm, his eyes and heart full of me. "Celia and I are deeply in love. If you continue to spread lies and disrupt our wedding, don't blame me for being rude to you." The girl ignored him, looking at me with tear-filled eyes. "Mom, believe me, this man won't make you happy." Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. The guests at the party were stunned into silence. A few seconds later, their tense expressions transformed into barely concealed smirks. I'm 24 years old, and the girl looks barely of age. How could I possibly be her mother? But the girl seemed oblivious to the mocking glances around her, still staring at me with tear-filled eyes. "He won't make you happy, he'll only make you cry," she insisted. "He always says he's busy with work during holidays. But he's actually spending them with another woman. He's been entangled with that wretched Shirley Ramsey for over a decade." At the mention of Shirley Ramsey, I felt a chill run through my body. She was the female lead in the book, and also the woman Vincent had secretly loved for years. How did this girl know about Shirley Ramsey? "What nonsense are you talking about? I haven't been in contact with her for ages," Vincent exclaimed nervously, looking at me. "Celia, don't listen to her. We've never even met before." Vincent wasn't lying. Shirley left for abroad 4 years ago and never came back. During these 4 years, our relationship has been good. We never argued about this past flame. "I believe you," I said. "Mom, he's lying." The hotel security finally arrived, bundling the girl up and throwing her out. "False alarm, false alarm." "Let's continue," someone shouted. "Where were we in the ceremony?" another guest asked. Our friends raised their glasses, trying to ease the tension. But it was clearly impossible now. The venue was in disarray, flowers strewn about. The officiant, witnessing such a scene for the first time, stood frozen in shock. The hotel management personally came to apologize, offering compensation and a chance to redo the ceremony. "How did your security fail so badly? You couldn't even handle a teenage girl?" Vincent's brow furrowed, his tone uncharacteristically harsh. After they left, his expression softened as he rested his chin on my shoulder. "You're not angry at all?" he asked. Of course I was angry. Back then, the system said everything was over, and I could go home. But my story with Vincent would end there too. "You want to stay?" it had asked. "Yes," Vincent confessed his feelings to me, I'd replied. Before, when reading fairy tales, I'd always imagined the princess and prince living happily ever after. But now, suddenly, someone had barged in to tell me the story had a rubbish ending. My mind was racing with thoughts. And I tossed and turned that night, unable to sleep. A pair of arms pulled me close. Half asleep, Vincent reached down to grab my feet. "Cold?" he mumbled. He tucked my feet into his clothes, shivering at the chill but holding me tighter. Listening to his steady breathing, I shook my head. I pushed all those messy thoughts out of my mind. Noticing my low spirits, Vincent took charge of all the remaining wedding preparations. He assured me to relax and wait for his perfect planning, promising to give me a once-in-a-lifetime grand celebration. During this time, I returned to work at the company. Unexpectedly, I saw Betty at the coffee shop downstairs. I had wondered if she was a transmigrator like me. But the system had clearly stated that there could only be one outsider in each book. Betty stared at me blankly for a long while. "It's the first time I've seen you dressed like this." It was just ordinary office attire, yet it seemed to evoke many memories for her. "I've never seen you in high heels before. Your hair was always tied up in a bun, never let down. That would have been inconvenient for housework. You wouldn't wear a fitted coat like this either. It's hard to maintain, and there weren't many occasions for it." Her gaze moved to my wrist. "Your hands are bare except for the wedding band. You were so upset when you lost an earring. You only wore clear studs to keep the holes from closing. Later, you even forgot about that, and the piercings closed up completely. I smiled at her. That won't happen. I don't like that kind of life. What are you like now? Although I was still an orphan in this world, the system had given me an identity. Here, I went to university, pursued Vincent. Fell in love with him gradually, and made some friends. I have my own social circle, my own career. And I'm about to start a family with the man I love. So I won't be like you described. I'm very satisfied with my current state and I love this job. I picked up my bag, ready to leave. Betty reached out and grabbed the hem of my coat. What if you get pregnant? I froze, taking a careful look at Betty's features for the first time. When she furrowed her brow, she looked very much like Vincent. That evening, Vincent's kisses slowly moved from my shoulder down to my waist, teasing me through my clothes. The moment his fingertips hooked the edge of my nightgown, I instinctively grabbed his hand. Vincent stroked my hair, leaning up to kiss my ear. Didn't we agree to let nature take its course? But who would look after the child if we had one? Would I have to give up my job? It's a great time for promotion now, and I don't want to miss this opportunity. Vincent froze. After a long moment, he finally spoke. Celia, you believed her, didn't you? I was taken aback. You've been acting strange ever since that girl showed up. You believed what she said, thinking I would neglect our family and mistreat you. I rubbed my temples. If we let nature take its course now, these are all things we need to consider. Vincent's voice grew heavy. She's just a stranger, but you're already using her words to predict our future. In the darkness, I couldn't make out his expression. I lifted the duvet and snuggled into his arms, feeling the prickle of his stubble as I looked up. He'd been so busy these past few days, juggling work at the company and replanning our wedding. So busy he hadn't even had time to shave. But in the early hours of the morning, I was still uneasy. I took a day off to go to the hospital for a checkup. As I sat in the chair, staring blankly at the test results, Betty arrived and sat down beside me. My birthday is on the 23rd of July. 9 months from now. The test results showed I was already over a month pregnant. After Vincent and I had planned to get married. We'd been carefree, not knowing which time had planted the seed. You've compromised, she said. No, I denied almost immediately. I don't plan to give up my career. Betty looked at me. That's not what I meant. I was stunned, remembering the drawer I had opened and closed last night. You didn't retreat all at once. You retreated step by step. I looked at Betty, suddenly feeling a bit afraid of what I might hear next. As I was leaving, she reached out to hold my hand once again. You still don't believe me, do you? She asked. We're a couple, and we're planning to get married. Getting pregnant is the most natural thing in the world. As for what happens after the pregnancy, that could all be worked out. It didn't necessarily have to end up the way she described. 2 weeks, Betty closed her eyes briefly. Give it 2 weeks before you decide whether to tell him or not. I wasn't sure what her intention was in saying this. That night, Vincent said there was an urgent matter at the office and left wearing his coat. I followed him out. The car didn't go to the office, but instead stopped near a restaurant. He sat alone for 15 minutes before a familiar figure pushed open the door and walked in. Shirley Ramsey. It's been a long time, she extended her hand. I thought you weren't going to come. After 4 long years apart, she was still as pure and gentle as described in the book. I unconsciously crumpled the menu, observing Vincent's reaction. Vincent's expression remained cold and distant. I forgot to tell you, he said, ignoring her outstretched hand. Shirley awkwardly withdrew her hand and was about to sit down. I'm getting married, Vincent said quickly, his hand instinctively reaching for a cigarette. Realizing they were in a public place, he hesitated, everything seeming calm. But only I knew how out of character this gesture was for him. Married? Shirley nodded. I heard. To Celia, isn't it? Yes. Vincent seemed so agitated he looked like he couldn't bear to stay a second longer. I have to go. There's something at the office. Shirley caught the hem of his jacket, her expression slightly hurt. Vincent, I know it might be too late for me to come back now, she said. But at least we can still be friends. You've helped me so much in the past. If possible, could you walk with me for a bit? As soon as the words left her mouth, Shirley realized she had lost her composure. She let go of his hand, stood up first, and said sorry before walking out of the restaurant. Through the glass door, I saw her raise her hand to wipe away tears. Vincent hesitated for a moment, his steps towards the exit seeming somewhat flustered. Just as he pushed the door open, he abruptly stopped, turned back, and asked a waiter for a pack of tissues. Through the glass, I couldn't hear what Vincent said. I only saw him lift his coat and then lower it again, ultimately deciding not to drape it over Shirley's shoulders, but instead standing in the wind to shield her from it. He still couldn't bring himself to refuse her. On the familiar street, golden leaves fell haphazardly on the cobblestones, lending an air of melancholy. Before Shirley left for her studies abroad, Vincent would pretend to bump into her on this road every time. His bright eyes would dim when he saw the man beside her. Each time, I would follow behind, waiting for Vincent to turn back. Why are you walking back? You've dressed up so nicely and even got a haircut, isn't it all to walk down this road? I'd say. Young Vincent, caught off guard, would look bewildered. I'd continue, it'd be such a shame if you left now. As it happens, the person I was waiting for has stood me up. Shall we walk together? I'm not waiting for anyone, he'd say, but his ears would turn red. All right, all right. You're not waiting for anyone. Consider it my invitation then. The truth was, I had also worn my best clothes and put on my new hair clip. But just as Shirley couldn't see him, Vincent couldn't see me either. He declined my invitation. But that didn't stop us from becoming companions in disappointment on this road. After many such encounters, Vincent couldn't take it anymore. He stopped in his tracks and spoke harshly to me who was following behind. I will wait for her. I am waiting for her. Don't waste your time. I looked at him earnestly. I will wait for you too. Vincent was stunned. So was I. Even before I was brought into this world, I had feelings for Vincent. So when I learned I had to redeem him, I was overjoyed. Each time, I thought, let's make Vincent a little happier, just a bit more. The first time we walked the street together, neither Vincent nor I spoke a word. The second time, the third time, the fourth time, we finally began to walk side by side. Then came holding hands, kissing, using the fallen leaves on the ground as a wedding veil. Listening to him secretly whisper his confession in my ear. I thought about how many times he had missed out. And I wanted to make up for it bit by bit. Someday, he would see me. I would make sure I was the only one he saw. A dry twig snapped under my foot with a crack. I came back to reality and stopped in my tracks. Vincent and Shirley walked side by side, without speaking. He accompanied her silently as they walked the length of the street. Their silhouettes blurred in my vision. Vincent returned home with a box of raspberry mochi. I had mentioned to him before that I loved this flavor. But unfortunately, it was only available from a private confectionery in the neighboring town. He took off his coat as he approached me, grasping my cold ankle. Why are you walking on the floor without shoes again? He asked, putting my socks back on and tucking them into my fluffy slippers. I looked down at his gentle features. Where have you been? Had an impromptu meeting, he replied. Do they sell these mochi in the conference room? The air grew tense for a moment. Vincent rubbed his brow. What are you trying to say? I just stared at him without speaking. Vincent seemed somewhat irritated by my scrutinizing gaze. How long are you going to be paranoid about these baseless accusations? My heart felt as if it had been squeezed tightly, leaving a bitter and sour taste. Didn't you meet with Shirley? Vincent was taken aback, then realized what I meant, looking utterly bewildered. Did you follow me? Vincent let out a long sigh. She came back a couple of days ago. I only found out today. She's been catching up with old classmates, not just me. You should have told me, I said. I didn't want you to overthink it. Vincent reached for his cigarettes, then glanced at me and stopped. Since you've seen us, you know we only met once. Only? A bitter laugh escaped my throat. Vincent frowned. Can you stop with the sarcasm? Did we kiss? Flirt? Or sleep together? They didn't do any of those things. They didn't even hold hands. To others, they truly just met once. Am I being too possessive, too petty? I've seen Vincent when he liked Shirley before, even when they were flirting. It wasn't like this. But this is different, I said. How is it different? How could you walk that street with someone else after you walked it with me? It's just a street. Just a street? Is that all? I waited for him on that street for so long. Through wind, rain, thunder, and scorching sun. I waited for so long before he finally turned back to me. In his eyes, is it just an insignificant street he could walk with anyone? Then why did you wait on that street every day before? Vincent suddenly froze. You understand, don't you? You were once like me. He knew it wasn't the same. I can't remember the last time Vincent and I had a falling out. But this time, our friends seem more anxious than we are. Ever since the last wedding fiasco, they've been eagerly waiting to attend the next one. It's as if they're waiting for the dust to settle. He met with Shirley, I said. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, followed by a cautious. What did they do? I realized I didn't know where to begin. It seemed everyone thought it was just an innocent walk, nothing to worry about. Perhaps I was being oversensitive. It's not a big deal, is it? Came the response, exactly as I had imagined. The fact that they were out in the open together. Doesn't that prove they've truly moved on from the past? Celia, honestly, are you letting that girl's words get to you? They urged me to think of happier times. When it comes to Vincent and me, our friends always have plenty to say. On Christmas Eve of our first year together, Vincent took an overnight train just to bring me my first Christmas orange. To share the first snow of winter with me. He stood outside my dormitory for hours. Until he pulled me into his arms as I groggily headed out for my 8 a.m. lecture. Vincent? What are you doing here? You said it yourself, he replied, quoting the message I had sent him about sharing the snow and growing old together. Vincent was never good at crafts, but because I loved embroidery. He learned to use a needle too. He often ended up with fingers full of pinpricks. Even my wedding shoes were personally designed and hand-embroidered by him. He spent so many late nights working on them that he nearly gave himself Bell's palsy. When our friends reminisce about these moments, their eyes always light up. As if it all happened just yesterday. Yes, we have so much history between us. They only met once after 4 years and walked together for a bit. It doesn't mean we don't love each other anymore. I was animatedly recounting old memories to Betty. Do you know? That winter, he stood in the snow for hours, just to watch the first snowfall with you. Betty interrupted, finishing my sentence. He would often travel to the next town to buy you those raspberry matcha you loved so much. And he knitted matching scarves for you both. You two wore the same scarf while walking down the street and nearly got hit by a car. He held you tight as you both rolled to the curb to avoid it. She spoke with such familiarity, as if someone had told her these stories many times before. I paused, taking a sip of my coffee. We were very much in love after we got married, weren't we? Betty suddenly fell silent, which was rare for her. You always try so hard to prove to me that you were in love using these examples. But Mom, how can one live an entire life on memories? If you were truly so in love, why do you need to keep telling these stories? I noticed my hand, which had unconsciously picked up the coffee cup, was shaking slightly. I gripped the spoon tightly and stirred. The fact that they're meeting, did I tell you about that too? Betty shook her head. You never speak ill of him in front of me. She wrote a string of numbers on a piece of paper and pushed it towards me. I saw it here. The note contained an email address. I didn't log in to check it, but my fingers traced over the password. Milo Vela Moon. My moon? When I got home, there was a large bouquet of freshly trimmed flowers on the table, along with an unfinished embroidery project. Vincent had come home early. He was standing in the kitchen wearing an apron. brewing some brown sugar water for me. Vincent remembered my menstrual cycle. In the past, he would brew brown sugar water with red dates at his flat and bring it to me in a thermos. He would also buy heat packs, portable hand warmers, and even knitted a scarf with our names embroidered on it. "You're back," he peeked out from the kitchen. "MHM." Vincent brought out the steaming hot water, stirring it slowly to the right temperature. "Your period is late this time. Are you feeling all right?" I shook my head. In our 4 years together, we've had our fair share of arguments, big and small. Most of the time, Vincent would be the one to make amends, like now, reconciling naturally. As I ate red dates, he was afraid that I would feel uncomfortable bending over. So he stretched out his hand and asked me to spit the seeds into his palm. Then he gently massaged my tummy. "Did you have dinner out?" His palm rested on my thin jumper. I wondered if he could feel the heartbeat of our child through the 2 layers of fabric. "Yes, I had a bit. I'll make you something later if you get hungry." Vincent knelt down to show me the wedding plans he had printed out. "Shall we set the wedding for this date?" "I've had someone look into it. Although it's not as auspicious as the previous date, it's the best day for weddings this year. I've changed the hotel to this one, and for the honeymoon, we'll go to that island you've always wanted to visit. I've arranged it in advance so we can stay there for a while. The weather is lovely there." He had planned everything meticulously, even emphasizing extra security with the hotel to prevent any potential disruptions. As he said this, he gently kissed the back of my hand. When he touched the ring on my middle finger, he looked slightly regretful. "This should have been on your ring finger by now." I lightly pressed my fingers against Vincent's cheek. "Is there anything else you want to tell me?" He looked up, his eyes slightly confused. I held back the urge to blurt out what was on my mind and asked patiently once more. "Is there?" "If there is, tell me now." I wanted to have an open and honest conversation with Vincent, even if he had countless moments of missing Shirley in the past. As long as he told me now, even without apologizing, I would forgive him. But Vincent just stared at me intently, as sincere as he had been during his numerous confessions in the past. "There's nothing," he said. "I know her appearance made you think a lot, but the last meeting was just a farewell. We won't have any contact in the future." I slowly withdrew my hand and smiled. I didn't ask any further questions. The last week before the wedding, Vincent's project ran into problems, and he had to go on an emergency business trip. Before leaving, he prepared fruits and meals, categorizing them neatly in the fridge. "Eat well, and wait for me to come back," he said. I logged into the email account Betty had given me. Vincent had recorded my fingerprint on his phone from the beginning, and I was free to look at anything inside. It was precisely this kind of open trust that made me never want to take a second glance at his social media apps. This email account wasn't linked to any of Vincent's apps either. There were hundreds of emails in the sent folder, but only one recipient. No name, just noted as the moon emoji from the keyboard. "Happy birthday, hope you're happy every day. The harvest moon is particularly round this year. This song sounds just like your style, very quiet, with a lively chorus. It's snowing, earlier than previous years. Embroidered moon.jpg. Crocheted scarf.jpg. A piece of brown sugar, 500 milliliters water, add 5 dates. Good for blood and pain relief." There were fireworks at the lake, but they were complained about for being too late. "Your topic choice this time was very special. The speech went well, you got first place. Happy graduation." In the drafts folder, there were 2 unsent emails. One was, "I'm getting married," and the other was a photo of the moon he took that night on Parasol Street, when he walked with her. Without exception, none of these emails had been opened. Perhaps after Shirley went abroad, she abandoned this outdated method of communication. Even without any response, Vincent still didn't forget to send her wishes on every holiday, and didn't miss any of her important moments. For 4 whole years. The 4 years we were together. Suddenly, countless moments flashed through my mind. I remembered that early morning when we sat by the lake, chatting. In my drowsy state, I fell asleep leaning on Vincent's shoulder. When I was awakened by fireworks, I saw him typing a message. Oh. Why are the security guards here? Someone set off fireworks illegally. That group got caught. I watched with amusement as the security guards chased after those people on their motorbikes, not paying attention to whom Vincent was sharing this comical scene with. I recalled the year Vincent waited for me outside the dormitory with a thermos flask. When I saw him, he was staring at his phone, lost in thought. Only when I touched him did he snap back to reality, asking how I was feeling during my period this time. You worry too much. It's really not that bad. And after drinking your improved version, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Vincent smiled with relief, handing me a scarf. Looking at the delicate leaf embroidered on the end, my voice trembled with excitement. Did you knit this? After getting Vincent's affirmative response, I excitedly planted a kiss on his cheek. I remembered how Vincent and I had an argument before a certain anniversary. We had a cold war for almost a week, both too stubborn to send a message to make up. But during this time, Vincent sent an email to Shirley, congratulating her on winning the debate competition. Too many overlooked moments from the past suddenly aligned when I saw the email. It turns out the first scarf he knitted wasn't for me. He embroidered a moon before the leaves. The song he loved wasn't shared with me first either. His internship promotion, starting his own business, securing the first £1 million project. I wasn't the first to know about any of it. Vincent would like and comment on every single one of my Facebook posts and tweets. But he'd still occasionally forget that I had tagged him in one of them. Even on the very first day we got together, he deleted Shirley's WhatsApp contact. I never saw a trace of anyone else on his social media. Yet he knew exactly when Shirley had competitions, what projects she was involved in, and what awards she won. And then he'd send his congratulations. I closed my eyes, but tears still trickled down my cheeks, soaking my face. My stomach ached. I clutched the sofa as I crouched down, vomiting next to the bin. The wedding ring on my finger felt painfully conspicuous. I slowly twisted it off. My finger was a bit swollen, and it hurt as it caught on the knuckle. I pulled it off forcefully and dropped it into the bin. I went to the coffee shop to find Betty. From a distance, she looked much paler than when I first met her. The standard-sized apron hung on her thin waist. And when she crouched down, she looked like a small shrimp. She was frowning, as if in pain. I quickly walked over to help her up. What's wrong? I was about to hail a taxi to take her to the hospital. But Betty grabbed my arm and stood up straight again. She shook her head. It's nothing, probably just ate something bad. Her gaze fell on my bare fingers, and the corners of her lips turned up slightly. I asked her, did we part ways in an unpleasant manner back then? The smile on her face suddenly froze. And she gripped my fingers tightly, revealing the whiteness underneath. Her eyes, however, turned red. After a moment of silence, I hugged her. I'm sorry you had to see all that. Mom must have scared you then. Betty couldn't hold back anymore. Large tears fell from her eyes, flowing into my neck. Mom. I looked at the head shaking on my shoulder and stroked her soft hair. Mom will treat you to something delicious. Can you forgive her? Betty said she wanted to eat my cooking. Orphans are supposed to be good cooks. But I've always been a bit rough around the edges. As long as I could survive and feel full, I never cared much about taste. Seeing Betty was starving, I quickly whipped up some egg fried rice with 2 simple side dishes of kale and garden peas. She ate with great satisfaction, choking several times in her haste. Slow down, I said, patting her back. I could feel her protruding bones. She was so thin. How did she get this skinny? She seemed to have some meat on her bones and such strength at the wedding that day. How have you been? I asked. After we separated, did he marry Shirley? Did they mistreat you? Were we close before? Was I a good mom? With her mouth full of food, Betty's answers were surprisingly clear. We were great. You're the best, the very best mom in the world. Looking at her sparkling eyes, I suddenly felt so happy. Really? She nodded vigorously, really. Betty said she wanted to go to the seaside with me. I agreed. I suppose in my past life, I must have gone to the seaside with her many times. As I was taking Betty to the airport, Vincent called. He had just returned home from a business trip. Why aren't you at home? Sneaking out to work overtime? I've told you not to work so hard. The food in the fridge hasn't been touched. Are you on a diet again? In fact, I had moved out long ago, but I didn't take anything with me. I didn't want any of those things anymore. Vincent was still rambling on the other end. Don't push yourself so hard before the wedding. How can you manage without eating and working overtime? It's going to be a tough day. I'm worried you might faint at the altar. I've brought you a gift. Are you sure you don't want to come back and see it? Never mind, I'll come and pick you up. It's been a week, and I miss you. I remained silent. Vincent paused. Celia? Did you hear me? It wasn't until the airport announcement came through the phone that he finally realized something was wrong. He asked where I was. I looked at Betty, who came running back with drinks, and gently touched her ear. My voice was calm. Vincent. Let's break up. Betty was quite the planner. The small island was warm and inviting, with a sunset that could wash away an entire day's fatigue in a single glance. The only downside was that as soon as we landed, my phone was nearly exploding with calls from Vincent. While Betty excitedly chose our sea view room, I blocked Vincent's number and turned off my phone. I noticed she had lost weight again. Despite following my meal plans and balanced nutrition, her face remained gaunt. I couldn't help but notice the numerous scars on her body. On her head, arms, legs, they were especially noticeable when she wore a dress. The one on her neck looked particularly fresh and alarming. I instinctively reached out to touch it. You've been hurt. She turned her head, nuzzling my hand and smiling. Oh Mom, you don't know, I absolutely love extreme sports. All these are from falls and accidents. She pointed to her head. This one's from when my climbing rope wasn't secured properly and I hit my head on a rock. What about your neck? Who did that? Is someone bullying you? Please. Betty jumped up, looking like a little skeleton. I used to be the bully one at school. Who would dare bully me? This one's from falling asleep in class. I was resting my head on my hand and slipped, stabbing myself with a pen. In Betty's stories, she was always the troublemaker. And I was always anxiously trying to stop her from engaging in these dangerous activities. Betty didn't let me examine the scars any further, instead dragging me to the beach to build sandcastles. Despite being almost of age, she could still play with the little kids, charming them out of their toys before running back to show me her prizes. It seemed she truly was an unruly child queen in her past. Betty built a large mound that I couldn't quite make out. What's this? She burrowed into the sand pile, then popped out again, and I understood. It's like you're giving birth to me. I touched my belly, wondering why it felt so quiet lately. One child inside, one outside, it was a truly bizarre feeling. I joked, I wonder if there'll be two Bettys when the time comes. Betty's movements suddenly slowed. The sea breeze tousled her hair, her pale face seeming to dissolve into the wind. Mom. She slowly knelt beside me, gently resting her head on my belly. Please get rid of her, won't you? I paused for a moment, shaking my head. She is you. If she's gone, what will happen when there's no you? Then Mom can get a little dog. Have I ever had a dog? Betty vividly described, yeah, a little rascal just like me. Always causing trouble, never giving you a moment's peace. It was a stray before you found it. Like you? I laughed. That couldn't possibly be a stray dog. Betty tilted her head, looking at me. Any dog like you, I'd always bring home. These past few days, I've been feeling uneasy. Despite the beautiful sunshine, Betty was out on the sea, riding her jet ski and waving at me from afar. Yet, I couldn't shake off this strange feeling that she might not return. I stood on the shore with a towel, waiting to wipe her down when she came back. Otherwise, she'd be covered in sand. Celia. I turned around to see Vincent, whom I hadn't seen in nearly 2 weeks. He had lost a lot of weight, his face covered in stubble, his lips dry and cracked. "What are you doing here? Why shouldn't I be here?" "You left without a word, without saying anything." He trailed off as his gaze fell on my slightly protruding belly. His lips trembled. "You're pregnant? Why didn't you tell me?" My tone was cold, because there was no need to. "This is my child, Celia. Why did you leave before the wedding? This child will have nothing to do with you." I didn't want to say more and turn to leave, but he grabbed my arm. "Come back with me." Vincent closed his eyes briefly. "No matter why you suddenly decided to end things, you at least owe me an explanation. Let's go back and talk this through properly. Don't do this to me." Looking at his pained expression, I found it both laughable and a bit saddening. "Vincent, you've always had regrets, haven't you? Regrets that I sensed the moment I saw that email password. My moon. The 1,000+ days and nights we spent together could never fill that void. To this day, nothing has actually happened between them." He could still explain that they had only met once. Or at worst, he had sent over 100 unanswered emails over the past 4 years. It could be considered, at most, as one-sided greetings to a friend. But during the 17 years of our marriage, they must have met many times, had numerous meals together as friends. And he must have driven her home on many occasions. Then, at some unknown point, it began with holding hands, embracing, kissing, and making love. His feelings towards me changed from guilt to annoyance. Perhaps when Vincent confessed his love to me, he truly loved me and thought about spending the rest of his life with me. But no one starts a relationship without being in love. It's just that this time, I choose to let him stop here. I wrenched myself free from Vincent's grasp and rushed towards Betty. Suddenly, I felt dizzy. The sun split into two in my vision. I blinked, reminiscent of my first day here. Vincent steadied me, only to be kicked away by the sprinting Betty. "Get away! Don't touch her," shouted Betty. It was astonishing how such a small, thin person could muster enough strength to push someone so much larger than her over a meter away. Vincent clutched his chest in pain. "You again! You took her away." He stumbled, trying to stand up, but Betty tackled him, pinning him down on the beach. "You can't keep her here. You bastard," she yelled. "You don't deserve her." My vision grew increasingly blurry. I wanted to separate them, but my legs had no strength. Something warm trickled down my thigh. Vincent's face paled in shock. He shoved Betty aside and crawled towards me. I looked down and saw a hazy red stain. My baby. My child. Instinctively, I glanced at Betty. She looked at me, her eyes filled with sorrow, yet she smiled. The scene before me began to fade rapidly, everything becoming more distant. "Mom!" I heard Betty scream with all her might. "Come home! I love you, Mom." When I opened my eyes, I had returned to my original world. Back to being 18, just before I had transmigrated into the book. It all seemed like a dream, as if nothing had happened once I woke up. The book in my arms was warm from my body heat. I opened its pages to find the ending had changed. The second male lead in the original story, who had disappeared in the latter half, had become the male lead. And my name had appeared in the female lead's place. The sweet redemption romance had turned into a story of tragic romance. Vincent went mad after I vanished. Truly mad. The book now read. Blood slowly trickled down Celia's leg as Betty's face grew increasingly pale. Vincent crawled towards her, but no matter how far he crawled, Celia remained distant. He chased her into the sea, his body sinking deeper and deeper. He wanted to punch Betty away in anger, but his fury was met only with air. Betty was disappearing, turning into a pool of blood that slowly merged with the blood Celia had left on the beach. In the end, like Celia, she vanished without a trace. Vincent nearly drowned in the sea. After being rescued, he reported to the police. "It's that madwoman who was questioned at your station before. She took my wife, caused her miscarriage, and now she's gone. Find her. Why aren't you looking for her?" The police's puzzled looks only fueled Vincent's anger. He realized that apart from him, everyone else seemed to have collective amnesia. No one remembered Celia, nor did anyone remember Betty. Vincent refused to believe it. He called their mutual friends one by one, wedding guests, and even reached out to Shirley. The answers were all the same. Shirley hugged Vincent, her eyes full of concern. "You're ill, you look awful. Shall we go for a walk?" "Yes." Vincent stared at her coldly. "It was walking down that path with you that made her blame me." Then he ran wildly down the street. Shirley tried to stop him but was dragged to the ground, her eyes brimming with tears from the pain. Vincent finally stopped. Shirley said, "Vincent, carry me to the hospital." "I don't blame you." Vincent just stared intently behind her. "There." Shirley turned to see a pile of fallen leaves. "Do you know? We used to roll in the leaves and kiss." Celia said the golden sycamore leaves were her wedding dress. She thought Vincent had gone mad. Finally finding a chance to take Vincent to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. He spent his days doing nothing, not even going to work, sneaking out at every opportunity. He would go around asking people about Celia. His family, unable to bear it any longer, sent him to a mental hospital for forced treatment. Vincent felt he wasn't ill. Celia clearly existed. It was these people whose minds were not right, they had forgotten her. He couldn't understand that this was the world inside the book. He once had happiness, but he himself had carelessly rewritten the ending. 18 is such a wonderful age. That year, I got into the university of my dreams. And received the task reward from the system's previous settlement. I chose to have a family at that time. I longed for a home so much, and now I have loving parents, grandma and grandpa. I study hard at school, always ranking at the top of my class. Mom and dad come to visit me at school on every holiday, taking me on trips. I have many friends and am no longer lonely. I smoothly completed my studies and established my own career. I often think of Betty, whose story in the book ended with her fading away. There were no further epilogues about her. One day, I saw a dirty little stray dog on the street. It was skinny but surprisingly energetic, scampering up and down the walls due to its small size. Some people tried to help it, but it was too clever and couldn't be caught. Until I personally stepped in, unfortunately unable to grab it by the scruff of its neck. Fearing it might bite me, the little one just stared at me for a few seconds. Then nuzzled my hand with its small head. "Oh, this little thing has two faces?" The rescue staff who tried to catch it a few days ago grumbled. "It nearly bit me before, how come it's so well behaved with you?" I parted the fur on the puppy's body and found it even smaller and thinner than I had imagined. I wasn't sure if it had been in fights or abused by someone. But it didn't flinch at all when I touched it. I brought it back to my home, where there was a big yard with many dogs. The little one was stunned, its watery eyes looking at me. Over the years, I had established many stray animal rescue centers. When I couldn't manage them all myself, I delegated some to other animal lovers. But this yard was different. The dogs here all had one thing in common. I gently swayed my arms, wiping away the puppy's tears. Mom always said that dogs like you wouldn't be strays. Welcome home, Betty. Betty's perspective. I lied to Mom. Actually, our relationship isn't good at all. When I was little, I loved Mom very much. Dad was always busy with work, and I rarely saw him. Only Mom was there for me. Mom played with me, slept with me, and took me to school. Usually soft-spoken. She would argue with people, her neck flushed red, if anyone bullied me. But she was just one person. So I asked her, "Why doesn't Dad come?" Mom would always crouch down and hug me gently. "Dad's too busy with work, Betty. Look, your pretty dress was bought with the money Dad earned." Then why doesn't Mom work? I didn't know then that Mom had worked before. She hired a nanny to look after me, but I couldn't bear to be apart from her. I had severe separation anxiety as a child. Every time I saw her leave, I'd cry until my throat was hoarse, cry until I had a fever. But I don't remember any of this. In my memory, Mom was always by my side. As I grew older, I started to resent her constant supervision. "Don't eat too many sweets, you'll get cavities. Wear more clothes when you go out, let me put this thick coat on you." I found her annoying, I found her fussy. Her taste was so poor, yet she always bought clothes for me, making me the laughing stock among my peers. So when she asked me to try on new clothes again, I exploded. You don't understand fashion at all, nor do you have any sense of aesthetics. Can you stop buying these outdated things for me? It's so annoying. I didn't know that she had actually browsed many websites and read lots of reviews privately. She thought young people liked these styles. Mom held the clothes at arm's length, comparing them to me, still speaking softly. This fabric is good quality. Your skin is delicate, so the material matters more than the style. This won't cause any allergies. You're so annoying. It's ugly. If you like it so much, why don't you wear it yourself? No wonder Dad doesn't want to come home. Who wants to talk to someone so out of touch all day? I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it. Can't you understand? Mom froze. She silently took the clothes and folded them after a long pause. Every time I shouted at her, I would regret it afterwards. But teenage pride overcame everything, and I couldn't bring myself to apologize. Anyway, she wouldn't remember these incidents. In a couple of days, she'd be nagging again. Sure enough, after putting away the clothes, she sat by my bed that evening. Your dad doesn't stay away because he doesn't want to come home. He's just too busy. She started telling me again about how they used to share a scarf in winter. How he'd bring her brown sugar water during her period. And how he personally embroidered her wedding shoes. The same old stories, over and over. I'd heard them so many times my ears were practically calloused. I said, if he's so great, why are all your stories from before you got married? She was silent for a long time before saying, your dad brought me some raspberry mochi the other day. Raspberry mochi again. How could she be like this? A box of raspberry mochi was enough to make her happy. Other CEOs' wives were decked out in jewels, but I'd never seen her fancy anything else. No, that's not right. Mom liked puppies. A few times when we passed by pet shops. She couldn't take her eyes off the fluffy puppies in the window. But I'm allergic to dog hair, so she wouldn't even go inside the shop. I always thought she only liked raspberry mochi and puppies. It's only now that I realize she also likes egg fried rice, kale, and these little garden peas. I'd never seen these things on our dining table before. I thought she didn't like them. As I ate big mouthfuls, my arms started to itch more and more. Looking at her gentle eyes, I held back from scratching. So it was because of me all along. Tears blurred my vision. I remembered after my graduation exams. When Mom excitedly prepared for a family holiday. She had been looking forward to it for so long, but I thought it was boring. I wanted to try motorcycling with my friends. These activities were dangerous, and she always tried hard to dissuade me. That night, I snuck out, but she still caught me. Going to the seaside as a family, how cliché. Fine, fine, I'll go with you. Just stop controlling me. I'm almost an adult, I want freedom. Your dad rarely gets time off. We should stay for a few days. She didn't know yet that Dad had already told me he had something on that day. He must have found Mom too talkative and didn't want to tell her directly. So he asked me to just accompany her for a couple of days. I was in a hurry to go motorcycling, so I shook off her hand and rushed out. Mom couldn't stop me. So she followed me out with my jacket, sending me messages. Betty, wait for Mom. Mom won't stop you. It's too cold at night. You'll get a stuffy nose if you don't wear something warm. Take your jacket. Afraid she'd keep following. I had the driver stop and lowered the window to wait for her to bring it over. There was no movement for a while. Until a huge crash came from behind. Mom was lying in a pool of blood, clutching my jacket. And on the other side of the road, I saw Dad. And the woman whose arm he was holding. My mom will never speak again. She won't cry, she won't laugh. She won't sit at the computer comparing fabric and styles of clothes. And she'll never look after me again. Dad came to hug me, and I punched him square in the nose. I bit him, slapped him, pinched him, and screamed like a lunatic in the hospital. Calling him shameless and accusing him of keeping a mistress. He didn't hit back, just pinned me to the ground and took me home to lock me up. I couldn't leave the house, but the friends I'd made before were still useful. I asked them to go after Shirley Ramsey. And they sent me photos of her beaten bloody. But I still didn't feel it was enough. I wanted not only to teach that wretch a lesson but also to make my dad regret it. I searched for evidence of their affair, planning to publish it and ruin his company. I found an email account. My dad was fawning over that woman like a lovesick simp, so cautious and careful. He had actually met that woman not long after marrying my mom. At first, they just met once. Later, they met many times. Who knows when they started sleeping together? I frantically copied all the stuff down, but before I could spread it, my dad caught me. He slapped me across the face, the first time he'd hit me since Mum died. I could only bite his hand, biting until my mouth was full of blood. Go on, let her sue me. Does she have the guts to sue me? Vincent Chisholm, do you have any shame? Go ahead, send me to prison. Even if you both die, it won't be enough. My mom will never come back. Vincent not only locked me up but also took away all my electronic devices. He wouldn't let me out, so I smashed my face bloody. If I died, they couldn't keep it quiet. But all these methods were too slow. And the sharp objects in the room were becoming fewer and fewer. After being rescued once again, I turned my attention to the IV needle. Facing the mirror, I pierced my carotid artery. In my hazy state, I heard someone speaking near my ear. I thought I had failed to die again. I heard that person ask, "What do you want to exchange?" Mom. Mom? Oh, the one who transmigrated into the world over 20 years ago. I advised her not to stay back then. That's why romance novels only write up to the point of mutual understanding. Mom. Do you want to save her? Mom. If you change the past, you won't be born. It's strange, I said if she regretted it, she could have gone back to her world. During all these years, she hasn't had a good life. Yet she never summoned me to take her back. Why? Why did she always cry secretly and then pretend nothing had happened? Why did she never get angry with me, apologizing even when I was the one who made mistakes? I suddenly remembered when I was little, I cried uncontrollably because she went out. I had a high fever, and she crouched by the bed, stroking my hair. Betty, darling, don't cry. Mummy's here with you. Mummy won't go anywhere, okay? Don't cry, baby. Mummy won't leave. Do you want to go back to the past to help her, even if it means losing your life? Mom. Once time is reversed, there's no going back, little one. Do you want life, or do you want? Mom. Memories and reality merged as I suddenly sat up in bed. Under the bright lights, the bride smiled radiantly. So beautiful I couldn't take my eyes off her. It's Mom. My mom. After I die, I want to be a dog. The kind Mom always loved, but couldn't keep because of my allergies. But will Mom recognize me? I make friends with many dogs, searching the world for Mom. A doggy friend tells me that in a place far, far away, there's someone who looks just like Mom. I run and run, for a very long time. Finally, at a street corner, a big net falls over me. Warm hands pick me up, and I catch a familiar scent. It's Mom. Woof woof woof. This dog seems quite fierce, others say. I'm not fierce at all. I'm just saying. Mom. I love you too, Mom.